Halfway through responding to my morning emails, a deep, strange voice echoed through the open floor plan. Workplace. Lizzie? I raised my head. The man didn't inquire. He was calling. Daniel, framed in sunlight and haughtiness, Cross, the new CEO, stood in the main floor entryway, his customized. My automobile probably costs less than my suit. Around me, conversations stalled. Some co-workers looked at each other, their eyes gaping. Yes, while standing halfway, I said. He grinned, similar to a predator identifying simple prey. Now a word. With my heels tapping on the shiny floor, I followed him into the conference room with the glass walls. I wasn't invited by him to sit. Instead, like a general addressing the assembly, he moved to the head of the table with his palms braced on the surface. Soldiers. He said, "Let's not waste each other's time," in a tone that carried only enough to be heard by passers-by. "This is a totally redundant role for you. Payroll is wasted on you." The harshness of the phrases was intentional. Shadows paused around us, right outside the glass, the quiet audience in the office. I maintained my expression. Despite my heart pounding in my ears, I remained neutral. "I understand." "Daniel, get your desk packed," went on. "You will be escorted away within an hour by security. No alert, no conversation. Merely a humiliation in public disguised as leadership." He anticipated indignation, hatred, and perhaps even pleading. But rather, I gave a single nod. "Understood?" he asked, blinking a little. "That's I said, my voice even, that's it." Due to what Daniel Cross was unaware of, no one in this building was aware that I had signed papers 2 days prior, making me the main stakeholder of this business. And if I've discovered anything in my life, it's that the most delightful triumphs aren't celebrated in firmament. When the other person believes they have already won, they are served slowly and later. In actuality, I had seen Daniel is approaching from a great distance. Not exactly. Before today, I had never met him, but I had read enough about him in industry publications to determine his kind. Brazen, combative, and power-playing, and I had known from the time the board declared that he would succeed Mr. Chandler as CEO that I would be leaving my current. They were assigned roles. He had no way of knowing that my job at this company had never been solely about my title at work. I had sat with my hands folded on a heavy oak desk in my lawyer's office 2 days prior. It had a subtle scent of history and lemon polish. Margaret Sloan, who had served as my representative, was seated across from me. Family's commercial ventures for more than 2 decades. Between us, the papers were arranged in a tidy stack, each sheet laden with seals that are embossed. Margaret said, "Once you sign here and here," pressing the last page, "the transfer will be finished. 62% of the company's votes will be in your hands. Shares?" I gazed at her, a little stunned. "And you're certain that this won't completely airtight?" she said, prompting any public filings yet. "To evade examination, your uncle set up the transaction through a private trust. The board won't be aware of it until you decide to let them know." The pen seemed heavier than it should have. I'd sign it once. Possess greater authority than the new CEO or anybody else in this building. I remembered what my uncle had advised me years ago. "Be patient, Lizzie. Don't spend it too fast because you'll need leverage someday." I signed. Margaret slid the papers into "Congratulations," she replied with a hint of knowledge. "A locked leather folder." Grins. Currently, Daniel Cross is standing in the center of the meeting room. I knew exactly what my uncle meant when he declared my dismissal in a triumphal speech. I didn't have to battle. Back now. All I had to do was let him dig his own hole. Without saying anything, I went back to my desk. My team, well, the old team, feigned to be at work. However, I noticed the covert looks. "What happened?" was murmured behind cupped hands. I packed cautiously and gently, selecting a small number of personal belongings. Emma from accounting gave me the ceramic mug for Christmas last year, the tiny cactus that somehow made it through my carelessness, a framed picture of my parents from the day my father chopped the ribbon on the first storehouse owned by the corporation. Security showed up, clumsy and sorry. While they accompanied me to the elevator, I saw a calm, collected reflection of myself in the glass, and if I gazed intently, a faint smirk twitching at the corner of my mouth as I realized something Daniel was unaware of. Next Thursday was the date of the next shareholders meeting, which I would not be attending as an worker. I sat in my flat that night, Margaret's leather folder, which was laying on the coffee table. I touched the imprinted seal. With my fingers, the truth of it still 62% of the corporation is sinking in. I reflected on the years and my father. He had invested heavily in creating a company that valued its employees, and he was aware of how rapidly that culture had deteriorated under corporate haughtiness. I had just been underestimated by Daniel, cross in front of the whole office, and I wanted to be sure that I wouldn't be asking when I returned to that boardroom for my return to work. To seize his, that is. When my phone buzzed the following morning, I hadn't even made coffee yet. HR missed 2 calls, 1 urgent email in all capitals, mandatory attendance, exit interview, 10:30 a.m. I grinned in order to I put the phone back on the counter and slid myself. Give them time to stew. I would give them nothing. Not quite yet. Rather, I opened my laptop and made myself a cup of coffee. Beside it was the leather folder Margaret had given me, the greater than its actual weight. Daniel was unaware of the strength that was inside, the 62% of votes that resulted in. Once I made the decision to act, I was untouchable. I composed a brief message to Margaret in my email. Next Thursday we'll be moving. Get the official notice to the board ready. I will personally sign, she responded. In a matter of minutes. I get it. Everything will be prepared by me. Once the notification is served, expect pushback. I wanted pushback, that's what. I never entered the workplace, the remainder of the week. Rather, I prepared in silence during those days, not the type from Hollywood. No last-minute miracles or spectacular stakeouts, but the systematic, unhurried collection of ammo. Oliver Grant was the first person I met, a former operations colleague who is currently employed in logistics. We got together in a small bistro 3 blocks away from the workplace, out of prying eyes. He showed there with the same anxious expression I had seen on a number of previous coworkers' faces since the dismissal. What on earth took place? He inquired as soon as he took a seat. Daniel has been acting